That was for 4 people. That's actually really. It sounded really good.
Yeah, I kind of waited for your clap before I did mine. That probably didn't really work. But there we go.
We still need to trademark that.
In all honesty, part of that was just my slow reflexes rather than like my just terrible reflexes.
So let's get the intro underway, shall we?
Yeah.
Hi, and welcome back to Real Opinions. So this is the annual best of list where we try to do a multi-video call that always ends up failing some way, somehow or another. But we've got, so it's me and Harrison as well as
James.
Me, Ben, and Ben, and Ben.
We're shouting each other down.
It already looks like Harrison's being murdered. Every time it cuts to him, there's just this like blurry, grainy footage of him like lurching.
This will be lost by the time this video is on YouTube. But just
I feel like
imagine
I'm in the middle of like friend request or whatever that other like chat.
That's true. Yeah.
What was the
It doesn't
video
feel
chat horror movie called? Not
Friend,
Friend.
that's Unfriended.
Unfriended.
Yeah.
Rookie isn't really different. The difference.
What's actually secret is that we are actually in the same house, just in different rooms of the same house, and we're all being directed.
Yeah.
So the format for this one is same as last time. If you bother to listen to that, where we'll go around and do our 10 to 6, one by one, and then do our 5 to 1.
I'm just.
And if we want somewhere, we can put honourable mentions in somewhere, but.
We did honourable mention last time. We
can
confusingly did honourable mentions just before number 1. It might be better just to do honourable mentions now.
Yeah,
instead.
Yeah, I was going to say let's do it at the beginning.
Although the only thing I would say is if we do that, then Harrison might say do an honourable mention of a film.
Don't worry.
That is going to be my number 1, for example.
I have one honourable mention, and to my knowledge, I don't think anyone else saw it. Or if they did, they didn't mention it. So I won't do that. Don't worry.
Okay. Right.
A couple of my honourable mentions I know other people will say, but I'll just breeze through them. I'll just say the names. I won't elaborate.
Do you want to start then? If you've got a few, because I haven't only got 2 or 3.
So, honourable mentions.
Honourable mentions, right. I've got 6, just to complicate things. Because it was a really good year. It was a really good year, and I felt bad narrowing it down to 10. But it was. So my 6 honourable mentions, in no particular order: Blade Runner 2049, which I won't say too much else about because I know James will, at least James will go into more. He's staring me down really creepily. I've just got the little video of James in the bottom of the screen. It didn't even take over the whole screen, just James's eyes twisting sideways.
Pointing at the poster behind him. Yeah.
Also, John Wick Chapter 2. Which, again, I won't go into because I know at least Harrison will probably go into it later. Dunkirk, which I know everyone will probably go into later. Brawl in Cell Block 99, which I really, really liked but found thoroughly uncomfortable all the way through. Yeah. But in a good way, if that's possible.
I'd always put that as an honourable mention too. I didn't think of it, but yeah.
It's really like off the chain brutal and like I say, totally uncomfortable and really, really nasty in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok, because it was just full on hilarious. I just didn't have a place for it in my top 10. But like one of the most enjoyable Marvel movies I've seen in a while. And Prevenge, which I know Harrison doesn't like very much, but I've got a lot of love for just how kind of dark and weird and small it is, and I really, really love Alice Lowe. So that is my 6 honourable mentions. Now somebody else can take over.
Cool.
Shall I do it?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I have 2. One of them might be... just to clarify, we're doing 2017 from January to December by UK schedule. Has anyone said that already? Sorry.
No, we have
just said it, so now we're...
Asterisk that, yeah.
So, one of mine is actually Get Out, which I don't know if other people are going to talk about, so I won't go any further. I totally
forgot about Get Out.
I think it has been slightly overhyped, but it was a lot better than I expected it to be, and I liked that it didn't do the obvious racism bad metaphor and she took a different stance. But the one that I really wanted to mention, because I don't know if enough people saw it, I honestly don't know how many people saw it, but I hadn't heard much about it and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Did anyone see... I say anyone, only Ben will. It's a horror film. Did anyone see Better Watch Out?
Yes, I did, the Christmas one.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it was. It was like a really fucked up Home Alone.
Yeah, I thought like it started off fairly generic, but as it went on, I thought it became darkly humorous and sadistic in a good way, and I really liked the villain once he sort of becomes a character.
Yeah.
Once he sort of reveals himself, I thought it was my kind of breed of dark, sinister humour, and I enjoyed it, particularly towards the end when it sort of has you sort of rooting for the bad guy.
Yeah,
kind of.
I get what you mean. It
was
especially for a studio horror movie. It was it was really refreshing, and it's nice to see more like Christmas horror movies as well, because seasonal horror movies tend to stick to Halloween, so it was no Krampus. You're right, but it was definitely up there. Right.
James, do you want to do yours?
I know I have no honourable mentions because my top 10 is a well-rounded beast.
So, aside from your top 10, James hated everything this year.
I hated all other films. I'm sure there are some other films that you will probably mention later, and I'll chip in and say that yes, indeed, they were good.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Jack?
I basically just had three actually. I had Logan Lucky, which was
I never saw that in the end.
I actually I said it to Harrison in one of the other podcasts, but I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. Like, it was just a good heist movie. It was fun, and even though they tried to market it as like it's a heist film with dumb hillbillies, it actually has good heist moments where they're kind of intelligent still, but in a hillbilly way. And
intelligent
it had
hillbillies.
some characters that were a bit exactly, and it had some moments where it was a bit annoying, but characters specifically. But it was just a really good like movie night film.
Cool.
Okay.
And Good Time, which I only watched.
Oh damn it! You took my number one.
That was actually I've kind of gotten a bit bored of the One Crazy Night films, and it was actually I thought it was it was a more interesting and dark take on that, and it just had an interesting main character, and it was fun. And
Good
it's on
Time.
Netflix, so it's
Good
easy to
Time
watch
may
for
pop
everyone.
up a little bit later as well. Just saying.
Okay, there you go. Right. So I didn't think it was going to pop up in any, so I'll shut up for now then. And the last one was just the In This Corner of the World, which was the World War II Japanese anime drama that I talked about.
Oh damn it! You took my number one.
Yeah, of course it was. But as I mentioned it briefly, it was just a really good, interesting look at civilian life during war, which you don't normally get apart from really sappy films. So, and it wasn't sappy. And that's it.
You hear that, James? War.
Yeah, maybe. Would I like this film?
No.
Okay, excellent.
Well, it's World War II, but it's from the Japanese perspective.
Right. From the side of the villains. Okie dokie. On that bombshell.
In war, everyone.
That literal bombshell.
Oh no.
Shall we move into the top 10 proper?
Yes. Who wants to go first?
Shall I start? Because I haven't given any honourable mentions.
Yeah.
So this is one that if I could have thought of something better for my number 10, I would have put this as an honourable mention. But there's been
That's what I did last year.
There's been a lot of
same thing I did. So.
There's been a lot of these Netflix original films coming out in the last year. Of course, the latest Cloverfield film that everyone's going on about. But for me, the best one that I saw in the last year was Okja.
Oh, that was an honourable mention for me too.
Yeah.
I forgot that was.
I was thinking about putting that in.
That was actually my number.
Yeah,
that was my number 11.
So yeah, I really liked it. Number 11. Okay. Yeah. So I really liked it. Anything with Jake Gyllenhaal's always good, even though it was far from his best performance, but it was still a good film. Very much riding the vegan wave. 2017 was the year of the vegan. But yeah, no, I thought it was just a really sweet film, and Okja was as good as any sort of cute Pixar creation, I think.
I liked how
it had some really cool chase
dark it
sequences
got
as well
towards the end. I just suppose it's surprised that
it did really
that was my favourite part was when it got dark and horrible. But it was good.
So number 9 for me was it's going to surprise you, Alien Covenant.
That is very
which I
surprising.
really liked.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I liked it a lot more than many of the other Alien films. I don't know why. Just
nor do we.
About
Did you have your eyes closed for the whole film? Is that why you enjoyed it more?
No.
Did you like it more than Prometheus?
Yes, I did.
Then.
Yeah.
To be fair,
I just thought it was
liked
quite good
as
almost as like a standalone film. I think a lot of the people that really didn't like it because they didn't, you know, they didn't think it fit.
They wanted Alien
very well with. Yeah. But as a sort of just a standalone sci-fi film, I really enjoyed it.
I think my problem with it was that it was better as a sequel to Prometheus than it was as a sequel to Alien, I think, or a prequel to Alien.
Yeah.
Because the Alien stuff, the stuff with the xenomorphs, just felt really crowbarred in. And it just felt like they were just like, and now xenomorphs! There was no
I didn't like the
build up to them, they just kind of hopped out of the long grass like animals.
It felt very pathetic. Like, the central set piece is just it hanging onto the side of a ship, like, feebly trying to get in. And, like, it's supposed to be this ultimate killing machine.
Exactly, and, like, Ridley Scott went on for so long during Prometheus where he was like, oh, we're going to explore the origins of the xenomorph. Oh, it's going to take 3 films to get there. You'll see why they are, how they are.
And then it's just Resident
Then in
Evil.
this, they just kind of went...
Mad scientists.
Yeah, they just went, oh, now it looks kind of like a Christ... Oh, no, okay, there they are. Nothing special, just Shazam.
But James liked it.
Yes. Well, I liked it, so there we go.
Okay, there you go.
I don't
Sorry,
know why.
I'll stop proving you wrong.
No, it's okay. I mean, number 8 was a very late entry into this because I only clocked today that it does actually count as a 2017 film.
Ooh.
And that is Call Me by Your Name.
I missed that. I heard so many good things
last week and was very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised that you've included it in your top 10 because I thought that it was the kind of thing that you would not hate but just go too artsy or like too pretentious.
But maybe on the face of it, I did think that.
Or that.
Maybe on the face of it, I thought, I might not like this, but I was very pleasantly surprised. The soundtrack is amazing. For me, it's the best soundtrack of the year, I would say, probably. In terms of combination of sort of original score and pre-existing music, so I like that. And it just made me really want to go to Italy and not have intercourse with a man, but to go to Italy.
That should be on the poster.
I was waiting for that bit.
Yeah, it just had a very nice, gentle. It just had a very nice, gentle ambience, shall we say? And it was just a really good film. And Timothée Chalamet is very, very good. He speaks 3 different languages and plays the piano in it. Yeah. So he's it's quite impressive.
He really earned that Oscar nomination.
He did.
Oh, did he actually get nominated?
Indeed.
Yeah.
I only found out in like one of the interviews that I read where he's the youngest Oscar like leading actor nominee in years.
Really?
I can't remember how long. But
possibly
it was a very
since.
long time. It was like the 50s or something.
Oh
like
wow!
that.
Okay, right then. No, ignore me. Yeah.
Well, you said actor,
like way further than I expected.
Kids get because there was Haley Steinfeld recently.
Yeah, that was the actress.
Yeah. And usually the kids are supporting rather than lead.
Give them a chance. That's basically it's just so that they have a shot.
It's for the CV.
So I will move on to my number 7.
Yes, go for it.
Which is Detroit, which I really liked. I mean, I like anything 60s anyway, so I should
the music in that
face it
film
with
was really good as well.
It is indeed great music.
Yeah.
But it was just a really good atmospheric and tense film. It's quite a long film, over 2 hours, 2.5 hours maybe. But because it was so gripping, I wasn't bored at all by it, which is always good. And I normally, I think you guys probably know that I have completely for no reason really don't like Will Poulter.
Oh yeah.
But he was really good in this. He was really good in this, and he plays a horrible character, so maybe that is why, because I found it very easy to hate him.
Will Poulter side note, I don't know why, but it wasn't until Detroit that I realised he's really tall. Like,
is he?
Really, really tall. Yeah, he's like over 6 foot.
No,
I always thought he was like really tiny. Yeah, but he's like fucking huge.
I had no preconception.
Sorry, that was the one thing I took out of Detroit.
Shaped my opinion of the film greatly. But yeah, so that was a pretty good film. I mean, there's not really that much to say about it, I don't think, because
no, I agree. It was
fun. It wasn't really fun. I wouldn't call it fun.
I was going to say that's not a word I use.
But it was a sort of a good little slice of 60s
racially charged violence,
race tension. Yeah, I love a slice of that. That's great. But no, a very good film. So there we go. Anyway, on to number 6, and this is another film which really, really surprised me, which I thought I wouldn't be super keen on, and that is Lion.
Oh God!
Which, particularly the first half of that film, I really, really liked. So the first half is sort of set in India. Basically, it's following 2 young Indian boys around, and it's all in Indian with subtitles, and it just what's the language? I don't know. Back to my best.
Let me Google it. Hang on.
But it was a really good film, and I just enjoyed it a great deal, and I was very pleasantly surprised, because I think it was the way it was marketed was as this kind of Harrison's making me laugh.
It's Hindi. The language was Hindi.
The language was Hindi. Thank you. Hindian. Just a really good film. Very well acted. Both the child actors and the fully grown actors. I've got the giggles, so I'm just gonna say Lion. Good film, a solid number 6, and I will pass the baton on to someone else. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Have I got the format right?
I just keep remembering. The only thing I really remember from that film is the dramatic, the dramatic set piece of the film is someone going, looking back and forward between Google Maps. And it's just there for,
he kind of goes a bit wild and creates this sort of murderer-like map, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
With all the string.
He turned into the Zodiac killer. Looking yeah.
Brilliant.
Who wants to go next?
Do you mind if I go? I might not be able to stay for hours, so
Yeah, sure.
Pop this out instantly. Right, number 10 is, I won't say loads about it because I know it'll pop up again at some point, but Logan. I was a big Wolverine fan anyway, and it's kind of like the quintessential Wolverine fan. It's the best Wolverine's ever been on screen. Treated seriously, it's the best Hugh Jackman's been. It's kind of part Western, part kind of dystopian science fiction, part superhero movie. Takes itself very, very seriously, and I like that as well. And it kind of gave a nice epilogue to Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and Patrick Stewart's Professor X, and it just kind of made X-Men a bit more grounded, and still said a lot about the characters without kind of going all Dark Knight as well. So yeah, I mean, I'll try and be relatively brief on it, and I really, really like the violence. I think a lot of it comes from the violence,
helps.
which I'm not normally one of these people that says superheroes have to be there has to be loads of blood and swearing in superhero movies all the time, and that'll make every superhero better.
It'll make the Fantastic Four better if there were
I think with Wolverine
brutal violence.
It would have made it more watchable anyway.
It would have made that one more.
But I think with Wolverine, it's you kind of need the violence, or at least some of the violence, especially if you're going to make a standalone Wolverine movie, because his character is so based in it. So yeah, number 10, Logan.
I think it worked better as well because the other ones hadn't been R.
That's true.
A sudden jump to R.
This, but you really felt that the effect
first time he does something truly gory, right in the beginning scene.
Yeah.
It does suddenly jolt you this is different.
You really, really feel every.
Logan will be coming up again, so if we want to move past it.
Okay.
My number 9 is Raw. I
thought you meant Raw.
I think it's I don't know if it's
and I thought it was a film.
No, Raw is an RAW. The French cannibal horror movie. which I'd heard like a lot of hype about. I think, Jack, you reviewed it from LFF like 2 years ago, didn't you?
Yeah, because it was at the festival and it took a while to get like out on a wide release.
Exactly,
yeah.
It didn't come out here properly till like April.
No.
But like I had heard like a lot of hype around it, especially from like horror fans saying like, "Oh, people were fainting and stuff. It's really, really like graphic," and I kind of. Forgot all about it when I got about 20 minutes into the film because it kind of lulls you into this false sense of security and then just kind of hits you with these really, really visceral sequences. It's really, really beautifully acted, really well written. It kind of takes horror and coming of age and moulds it together in a way that it hasn't really been moulded together before, which I really, really liked. It kind of adds monstrous elements to it, which, again, I wasn't expecting, which was really nice. So, yeah, it was just kind of, even though I had quite a lot of hype going in, it took my breath away, let's put it that way.
It was kind of like a darker evolution of the really cheesy teen horror films from a few years ago, like kind of Ginger Snaps.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, those werewolf movies. And
like, because it's all about, it's coming of age being a horror aspect.
Exactly, yeah.
But, yeah. And I will say that I think I mentioned it briefly in the review that I did, but it's the closest. It's like feeling close to throwing up. In parts of it. Like people did have to leave in my cinema.
Oh wow!
So like
really?
Definitely I wouldn't say that it's like it's not the goriest horror film ever made, but it does have stuff that makes you want to retch a bit.
Right.
Yeah, it kind of a lot of it comes out of
from
nowhere.
The cannibalism aspect, obviously.
Yeah, I think so much of it, like I said, because it's so rooted in its coming of age kind of stuff that when the cannibalism stuff happens, and especially a particular scene with a severed finger, it just kind of takes you by surprise almost and reminds you that you're in the middle of a horror movie that you almost forgot about. So
I kind of hoped that. Like, the thing that stopped me from enjoying it as much is the fact that it goes from indie movie, like you said, it kind of lulls you into it, and then it goes into a horror, and then it kind of goes back to indie sort of near the end, I felt, or like a bit too much in between, and I think I didn't find the ending, like, I found it kind of dampened a lot of the horror for me, like, for the middle section.
I get where you're coming from. I liked how it blended, but I think that's coming from someone that really likes horror movies. Right, moving on. Number 8, which I expected this to be a lot higher on the list, but when I sat down and just tried to mould it all together, this is how it came out. So number 8 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which, again, I was kind of super hyped about, because like, I've been a ridiculously huge Guardians of the Galaxy fan for years, and James Gunn's like one of my favourite filmmakers, so I kind of had a lot riding on it, and it is an amazing kind of spectacle-driven, space operatic, kind of a really, really beautiful film. And like the first one, it digs a lot deeper than just kind of your standard Marvel movie, which again I really liked. But I think it was just... It feels weird saying bad things about it, considering it's my number 8 in my top 10 kind of list. But the thing that stopped it from being number 1, the thing that kind of held it back and why I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one was I didn't feel as kind of invested in the kind of plot structure as much. I think because I really love the cast, full stop, but it felt like Star-Lord was kind of sidelined for a lot of it, and he didn't really get to be the Star-Lord
that's true, actually.
We really liked from the first one. And a lot of his kind of like Han Solo smarminess kind of got lost.
Well, it's because he had the emotional story. He had a very sort of sincere, saccharine story.
Exactly. It felt like the balance between the kind of silly, like dark humour and the sincerity just felt a little bit more.
Just to go off on a slight tangent, you have absolutely no reason to feel like weird about putting it at number 8, because obviously Kingsman is very, very important to me, and I don't have Kingsman 2 in my top 20 even. So
wowzers. Yeah, it was.
That's a big drop from number 1 to
exactly
20s.
I think sequels are hard to get right anyway, and for the most part, Guardians 2 did a lot of good, and I still think, like I say, it's still one of the best movies of the year. It just kind of...
I concur.
It didn't quite reach the heights of the first one. But okay.
It improved on some things and it dropped the ball on other things. I think.
Exactly,
It was a mixed bag of stuff. Yeah.
I think it needed to be a bit funnier. And anyway, number 7 is Good Time, which I had a lot of fun with, just because of how kind of I didn't expect it to be funny at all. I kind of went in expecting this kind of like proto like new age taxi driver type vibe, and whilst it did kind of have that kind of vibe, it also was really darkly funny and had this really, really weird loose structure where nothing really felt set in stone. There was no kind of obvious arcs or kind of like reasons for things going. It kind of, where you'd expect it to go one way, it would just kind of spin on its heels and suddenly just have a really lame joke as a development instead. It was really, really odd, and I liked that a lot. And considering I used to hate him, I really, really like where Robert Pattinson's going now. I think he's great in it. Him and which is one of the Safdie brothers, who's his brother in it, isn't it? Jack, do you know?
Yeah. One of the directors.
One of them.
I didn't realise until like seeing like a Twitter thing or whatever. But yeah, well, I didn't realise one of the directors was actually playing the brother.
Yeah,
he gave a good performance as well.
I don't know which one, whether it's Josh or Benny, but one of them, and he is amazing in it. Like really, really kind of like to the point. And I think so much of it, because they have this kind of gonzo kind of like run around, just no marks, no kind of like full on film set style setup. It feels very kind of in the moment and very raw, and I really, really like that. So. Good Times number 7, and then number 6 is, again, I kind of expected this one to be higher as well, but that's not to say I didn't love it to pieces. Star Wars Episode 8: The Last Jedi, which was totally batshit and 1,000,000% different to what I expected, and I still loved every minute of it.
Every minute?
It was really okay.
Canto Bite.
Yeah, bar some of the Canto Bite stuff and some of a certain Leia sequence. Which, to this day, I'm still a little bit like, really? Otherwise, I really, really liked how kind of bold and different it was.
I felt like he was trolling at that point. Like, he was just...
Yeah, honestly, it did. It felt like I was in the wrong film. I was, like, watching an internet GIF or something. I expected that, like, Gandalf music to come on in the background, that... But over, like, if that's the price we have to pay to have like a ridiculously over the top, like out there Star Wars movie that does try and do something different and isn't just a nostalgia trip, then fair. Because I mean, I do still love Force Awakens, and I probably enjoyed Force Awakens a little bit more than Last Jedi, but I have more respect for The Last Jedi and what they did with it. So.
I think that's strangely enough, that's like one of the few times where all, like, well, at least I know me and Harrison have the same view on that, but you also have the same, where it's like, yeah, it's mixed, again, like the Guardians 2, it's a mixed bag.
Exactly,
and I enjoy, but because of that, like, even though the original you don't respect as, the first one you don't respect as much, it was more enjoyable because it was more consistent.
Exactly,
I would say that in this instance, Guardians and Guardians 2 are a lot closer for me than... The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi are.
I really like The Force Awakens, and for me, the Last Jedi was, maybe it would be an honourable mention, but I kind of agree with you, Harrison. It
wasn't like Kingsman step down, but it was a step down.
It didn't drop the ball.
It was between the two somewhere.
It didn't drop the weird tracker inside the woman's vagina for no apparent reason whatsoever.
There's nothing wrong with that bit.
There's nothing. It's just really lame. It was just like a really, really shit joke that went on for like 10 minutes longer than it needed to go on.
I just thought it was weird, that one camera shot.
Like the one,
because it was like I was suddenly on that Into the Void thing.
Oh yeah, when it went like inside.
Yeah.
Right, that's my 10 to 6 anyway. Who's next?
I'm ready, but if Jack wants to go, he can go.
My number 10 is, mentioned it like ages ago when we first covered it on Real Opinions, but 10 is It, surprisingly.
It's good.
I didn't enjoy it as much when it came out as opposed to when we...
Yeah, the script was better, but that script was amazing.
They did definitely make it... They made it more Blumhousey.
Yeah, that script was amazing.
Actually, like, I think it would have even possibly been higher on my list had I not watched it a second time.
That's interesting.
You watched it a second time?
I know you enjoyed it.
I've seen it
time,
5 times now.
Yeah. So a tiny bit.
Try not to say the word "it" when talking about.
It's so because I had this with Naoma. I told her that I went to see it, and she was like, "What?" And I thought she was joking, and I was like, "No, I'm not doing this." But she's like, "No, I genuinely don't know what you went to see." And it was like a bloody vaudeville routine as I kept going, "It."
Yeah, it was still enjoyable when I watched it again.
Yeah.
I made just a lot more of the generic like Blumhouse stuff. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Sorry, I've made you really conscious of it now, haven't I? Of it.
And my number 9 is this one. Again, this one surprised me as well, but it's Manchester by the Sea, and I know you're kind of groaning from that. But again, I tried to watch all the ones that I thought were going to be in my top 10 again, and just like I rewatched this one as I was going and expecting another kind of just sad film all the way through, and the comedy surprised me a second time, and I still found them kind of the moments just as funny as before, and
I don't remember any comedy.
I still thought it was enjoyable.
I don't know if I could watch it again.
I watched it.
I think that's my problem.
I was kind of forced to watch it flying to America, so I didn't have much choice. So maybe I wasn't the most...
Yeah, they strapped you down. And
Chocolate orange.
This film. Yeah. No, it was well acted. It was well acted, I thought.
It was one of those films where technically I really admire it, but I don't think I could ever watch it again, and I didn't enjoy the experience of watching it.
I didn't see it.
But I have a lot of respect for how well made it is.
It's fine, yeah. It's not one of those films where I say, oh, everyone has to watch it, but the problems that I had from the first time, actually I found went away more the second time, and so that's why it kind of stuck out for me more. Number 8 was The Florida Project, which I just thought was really, really charming and really fun and just a sweet film, even though it's about people in modern day poverty.
Exactly. It's really I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, but it's really it captures that kind of childish wonder and that excitement, almost like a kitchen sink version of an Amblin movie. It's really obscure, but I really, really liked it.
And I liked that the kids were brats. Right away, it doesn't start with the scene where like you're meant to like them. It just starts with them spitting on people and swearing and like calling them bitches and things like that. And it's not trying to make you like them, but it's not trying to force you to do that. But you still end up liking them anyway. Number 7 was Blade Runner 2049, because when I saw it in the cinema, I was a bit ambivalent towards it. I liked it more than Blade Runner, but it didn't really stick in my mind as much as I thought it was going to. And then the second time I enjoyed it.
I haven't seen it still, so it might have been in my top 10, but I wouldn't know. I never saw it.
I'm going to talk about it at greater length.
Yeah, that's later. I'm leaving it.
Yeah.
And my number 6 was Logan.
Ooh, that's high for a comic book film for you.
I thought you'd like that. Yeah. The biggest problems with it, like I liked all the character stuff. Like I said, I find it strange that people don't really say they enjoy the X-Men films as much as the Marvel ones, when I think they spend so much more time on the characters than the Marvel films. But it got a bit too like generic superhero filmy for me at the very end. But that's the only real issue I have with it. And besides, like you said, it was the best Wolverine's ever been. So. Yeah.
Is it me now?
Yeah.
We have no Chris, so I took it upon myself to adopt his role. Because my number 10 is a film that is probably going to annoy Ben, I think, because of the films that it beat out. But I've got Hacksaw Ridge.
Yes.
I liked Hacksaw Ridge.
I don't know if it would...
I will come to that
fine.
later.
It's good. The second half is really good.
Yeah,
the first half
that's exactly what I said. It would probably be much higher, like top 5 higher, were it just the second half. If it like had a Dunkirk structure, if it was like Dunkirk and just an hour and a half of the sustained battle, I think it could have been better than Dunkirk, because I enjoyed the spectacle and the action more. The problem is just it's lumbered with that Lifetime movie opening. But I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot, mainly for that.
The Lifetime movie opening, which is basically a Lifetime movie in itself. It's like an hour and a half.
Number 9, I have a film that, like Ben, I thought might be higher. And that is The Last Jedi, which I still liked. It was a messy, oftentimes kind of like perplexing, not in the sense that like I didn't understand what was happening, but in the sense of like, why are you doing this? But at the same time, I think the backlash has made me like it more. Like, the more I see people nitpicking it, I just go like, oh, piss off now. Yeah. But
exactly.
it was
people have set up like whole campaigns against
for
it,
the most asinine reasons, like, oh, why did I have to see milk a cow? It was a 5-second shot. Piss off. Why is it upsetting you that much?
Why did you get rid of Admiral Akbar so quickly? Yeah. Admiral Akbar's like been a background character
and I really enjoyed
the last anyway.
Third. The last third I enjoyed more than anything in either of the previous 2 Disney films. But I think the B plot really does drag it down for me. That was my main problem. Yeah. I don't mind the controversial decisions as much. It was that B plot that really just was like, ugh.
Exactly. The B plot with whom?
On Canto Bight.
Oh, yeah.
Editing Jack butting in here because Harrison's recording kept failing. So here's Harrison giving his number 8. And then we'll cut back to the recording.
My number 8 is actually in the same place that Ben's is. It's Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which is a film I have seen now a ludicrous amount of times because Naoma keeps making me watch it. It's like I've got Stockholm Syndrome, and the more I see it, the more I've just grown to adore it. And like, I guess it's because I know it more now, so like I know all the details and the layers, and I'm starting to spot things and appreciate things I didn't before. But yeah, just because I've been forced to watch it so many times. Me and Jack have talked about it before. I think that it is actually in many ways a superior sequel. It has more emotional depth. I think the character stuff is actually stronger than it was in the first film. And that prison scene alone is, the prison break scene is one of my favourite set pieces of the year. I think it's fantastic. And I really, really liked the ending. As Marvel films go, I think that it's one of the strongest conclusions they've had so far, because it was something different. So I actually really liked Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I think it's a sequel that I've grown to love more the more I've watched it, because it sort of strayed from the formula a little.
Likewise. A lot of people complained about that at the time. There was like... Yeah, I had loads of like journalists on my Twitter timeline being like, "Oh, Guardians 2 is brilliant, except for that one bit in the middle that like sticks out like a sore thumb." I was like, "What? It's the best sequence in the film."
I don't know when, but my recording stopped.
Oh dear.
So I'll just quickly recap what I said. You know what I'll do? I'll just send Jack.
It's fine because I have everyone's reactions.
I've basically been reading from a script, so I can just send you what I said. It's fine.
The secret's out. The secret's out.
I can just send you more or less what I said anyway, so it doesn't matter. But
don't even know why you turned up.
But now the problem is I don't have my list on me because I've now returned to... Right, number 7 is John Wick 2, which is a film that, again, I think is better than the first one. It's mainly in there for the quality of its action scenes more than anything, because I think it's a film where every single fight scene could have been the best in any other film. It's just a very cool, well-staged action film, more so than the first one, because that's sort of what I said about the first one, but in a more lukewarm way. Whereas this time it feels like, rather than just being well executed, it is like perfectly executed. So, John Wick 2.
You're one of the few people where I've heard you say that it's actually improvement on the first one. Because I feel
Really?
like most people say it's just more of the same, and it doesn't really
It
add
is,
on.
but it's,
No,
it's more of the same in a better way.
Obviously, I haven't seen it, but
I haven't seen it either.
I remember when the first one came out, people were saying, like, "Oh yeah, it's a Keanu Reeves film," but then a lot of people were talking about the second as being like a genuinely very good action film.
Yeah,
I think they're both really, really brilliant, but
yeah,
I think the second one does add a little bit more. I'm not sure what. I still, to this day, don't know why it's better, but I just remember leaving thinking that was better than the first one.
Yeah, I think it's just nothing massively changed, but just every tiny element of it got better. It's like the humour was a bit sharper. the action was just a little bit more bigger in scale, but still as well staged. It had like a bigger budget, so it was able to go to all these interesting locations. It was just like minutely better in every single way, rather than doing anything massively different.
That's it.
And then number 6 is a film that I think the first time I saw it would have been closer to number 10, but I've grown to also enjoy this one more each time I watch it, and that is It. Now that I watch it less as a horror film and more as like a kid's adventure film, I think it is. If you go at it as like a Stranger Things, it's brilliant. The kids are fantastic. All of their interactions are great, and there's a lot of imagination and fun to it. Watched as a horror film, it's kind of a bit tame and not particularly frightening. But watched as an adventure film, I think it's like ridiculously entertaining. And I think Bill Skarsgård is maybe my favourite performance of the year, even though he's only in the film for like 10 minutes. I think he is utterly compelling. It is my number 6, because I think it's one of the most just easy to watch and enjoyable films that I've seen this year.
I think you're the only person that would call it easy to watch and enjoyable.
If it was like that script, it would have been dark and horrible and unpleasant. But as it is like a fun ghost train type thing. It is easy to watch.
Yeah, no, it's the closest to like a family horror film. In some ways. Yeah.
Like Poltergeist.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but it is. I think, to be fair, some of mine was I only saw it once. I saw it at the cinema, and I went to see it with Sarah, and she didn't sleep for like 3 days afterwards.
I think all family films should open with a child having their arm ripped off and their lifeless corpse dragged into the sewer. Like, that's what was missing from Coco. If they got into the other world through incredibly brutal means, that would have improved it.
So, are we gonna talk through Chris's 10?
Did Chris send in a list?
No, did you not see the list?
He posted it on Facebook.
Are you talking about? Oh, I see what you're doing. Right. Okay, 1 second. I thought you legitimately had it. I was very confused.
I'm still confused.
Give me a second.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, Chris commented.
Right, I've got it.
Ben, if you want to say them and we can react to them, then excellent.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm just making sure we're on the same page here, and I'm not. Okay. Yeah, I've got it.
So Chris, who cannot be here tonight, we're going to talk through his selection, his bottom 5.
Bottom 5?
Yeah. No, as in the bottom 5 of his top 10.
Yeah.
Right, just to be confusing.
Yeah.
Well, he's not numbered it, so I'm just going to go from the bottom to the top, just because that's funnier that way. Right, so Chris's number 10 is The Mummy. Which I don't know what to say.
I'm just laughing at James, not the actual film.
It's such a Chris film.
Which, I mean, like, it's not the worst film ever, but
that's what makes it such a Chris choice, is it's not the worst thing ever. It's just pretty bad.
I'm expecting Terminator Genesis at some point.
Yeah, exactly. That was an honourable mention.
What's great is Chris isn't even here to defend himself. So, should we dignify it with discussion?
It honestly wasn't that bad, which is why it's such a perfect Chris choice.
I'm going to run through all of Chris's choices, and then we can just talk about them in a minute.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to be here forever, because they're really ridiculous. Yeah. Right. Number 9 is Song to Song, as in the Terrence Malick film. Number 8 is Resident Evil: The Final Chapter.
Did anyone else see that?
Number 7, it gets better. Number 7 is Geostorm. Number 6 is Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets.
No,
which
I don't believe you.
I can imagine Chris defending that one to the death. Because like it wasn't awful. The first half was actually quite good, and then it just got weird. But
it's
number 5, and
it genuinely is.
I know for a fact this would definitely be in Chris's top 10. Number 5 is Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, it is because
the original.
Yeah, And to be fair, like, I think the ScarJo one, it's not awful. I think I was expecting it to be really, really terrible, and it's not terrible.
It was fine.
It's watchable.
It was fine.
And the world building in it's really good. I think it's just the plot never really gets going. It never really feels like it it feels like the pilot of a TV show rather than like a $200 million film. But James, here you go. Number 4 is Call Me By Your Name.
Yes, so I saw his list. I saw his list because I saw that, and that was what made me think, oh yes, that is indeed a film from this year.
It inspired you.
Yeah, it's a really good film. It's not as boring as you'd expect it to be. Harrison would hate it.
That's a poster quote.
Yeah.
It's the second best poster quote after I didn't want to have sex with a man afterwards. Which is still
It's a really nice watch. Very pleasant film.
Okay. Number 3, Chris's number 3 is Mother, which I don't know how to feel. I don't even know what to say. I still don't really know where I stand on that film. I really like Darren Aronofsky, so I went to see it like quite seriously when it came out, and I did find myself laughing most of the way through. Like, it is really, really ridiculous. Some ways, like, it is kind of like a dark comedy, but I just found myself getting really frustrated, and I only started enjoying it when I let myself laugh at it.
When I was laughing at it were not the parts that it wanted to
laugh at. Exactly. It's really, like... Okay, moving on with Chris's. I really want to switch his number 2 and number 1 around, but I won't. His number 2 is the Lego Ninjago movie.
I thought it was one of those straight to DVD type ones when it was announced.
It did look like one. No, it did. Yeah. Like you find it on Netflix and the kids.
I didn't know what a Ninjago was. I still don't really know what a Ninjago is.
It's a Lego only thing, so it's a tautology. It shouldn't be Lego Ninjago because all Ninjago is Lego. It should just be Ninjago.
That was the problem with it. Is it was called Lego Ninjago, not just Ninjago.
Why didn't they do a Bionicle movie? Or is that
no, I'm sure they did. I am sure they did a Bionicle.
They've done several, actually. No, they did 3. They did 3.
There's 3 Bionicle films?
Yeah.
Oh, good lord.
But, like, the first one, I think, went to cinema, and then the next 2 were just DVD.
Yeah.
That's more installments than the Bible.
Bionicle Mask of Light. 5.7 IMDb.
Okay, wow. They have a fan base, apparently. Right, Chris is number 1, just to round it off. And to be fair, like, we give Chris a lot of shit, but his number 1 is Blade Runner 2049, so...
Yeah, fair enough. Which maybe we can save until I discuss that later.
Exactly. Right, who wants to go? James, do you want to go with your 5 to your 1?
Yeah, I'll move into my 5 to my 1. So, starting at number 5 is Hacksaw Ridge, which we have discussed. Yeah, we have discussed. And basically, I mean, obviously, I'm unduly biased towards anything World War II, but the fact...
Is it just World War II?
Yeah. Well, I like most World War films, but it's just basically as we said, the first half of the film is utter dross, utter dross. But I know a lot of people I've spoken to.
My favourite film of the year is utter dross.
A lot of people liked the first half of the film and found it really sad and so I guess it does broaden the film's appeal, because actually I think those same people would really hate the second half of the film because it's pretty bloody violent. But for me, it's actually I would say it's the best Second World War battle action scenes that I've seen since Saving Private Ryan, I think.
I get you.
I think they might. I'd even go as far as to say maybe better. Which I know is going to trigger James.
That is going to trigger me because the opening of Saving Private Ryan is the single greatest moment in cinematic history. But fair. But I get where you're coming from, at least. Yeah. Anyway, so Hacksaw Ridge, very good. I think that shows just how good that second half is. That it makes up for the utter dross of the first half.
And it shows that we should forgive Mel Gibson and just he's a
great guy. What a great guy! And Andrew Garfield is really good in the film because even that first half, which is of course utter dross, he is actually his performance is pretty good. So there we go. It takes.
I just thought that would be brilliant if they introduced him as an Oscar nominee that way. Like, you know, when they give like a bit of a speech about like today we'll be looking at the like, even though the first half is utter dross.
You've still put in a good performance. So number 4, I don't know if you guys are going to cover this, but number 4 for me was Get Out, which really surprised me. I do agree that it's probably not worthy of all the kind of awards hype, and I think that is probably, it's quite political why it's getting all the awards hype.
Yeah.
But it is a really good film, and there's some very funny moments, some very dark moments, and just a really good. It's the kind of film that I like. You know, I don't think we can call it a horror film, but a sort of psychological thriller.
It's like a Black Mirror episode.
Kind of. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. But as I say, maybe one of you guys is going to talk about it.
I already did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so there we go.
I totally forgot about it, but I will add that I really, really liked it. And it is one of those films that you get more out of every time you watch it, I think.
Yeah.
There's kind of so many layers to it.
So number 3, and this film shall forever be remembered as the last film of the late great.
Oh no! Don't do what you get.
Oh Jesus Christ! James.
Because it's the last. It is the last big film I think we'll ever see Kevin Spacey in again, or at least until the Ferraris kind of.
You make it sound like he
Give
died.
it 7 years and they'll forget.
To be fair,
casting him again.
Yeah, but aside from Kevin Spacey, amazing. The soundtrack is just great, and I think it's fine to say that because I don't think that it's no, but I mean, in the
it's
sense,
not been tainted by Kevin Spacey.
You might sort of think, oh well, that's okay. It's all just style and no substance. But the music really, it's very much part of the film. It's such a well choreographed film.
Yeah.
James, did you actually say you're talking about Baby Driver at any point, by the way?
No, I'm not sure I did. I ain't talking about Baby Driver. I just refer to it as the last film of the late great Kevin Spacey. Is how it should be known.
Everyone knows what that means. He could have been talking about the one that he was cut out of for a week.
Yeah,
but I didn't know All the Money in the World had a good soundtrack.
But no, yes, a really, really good film and some amazing car chases, like Bond level-esque. The heist scenes are just great. Yeah, it's just a good film, I think.
Good
a
villain
good fun
towards
film.
the
It's
end
the most
as well.
fun I had at the cinema this year, I think. The most enjoyable film, fun-wise.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Blade Runner 2049. Oh, yeah. Incredible. Basically, my number 2 and my number 1 are very, very close. And
they're like the Jamesiest James films I could possibly think of.
I think it's going to be some years before I see a film better than my top two films for various reasons.
I remember your review of sorry, I'm jumping ahead a bit here. But your review of your number 1 film, you kept talking about how it was like the end of a genre.
Because it had been perfected. It was at its peak. Anyway, well, I'll come on to that in a moment. So Blade Runner 2049, I actually kind of was a bit worried about it because I thought it's almost too good. A bit like Spectre, where Spectre... it couldn't fail. It couldn't possibly fail. Christoph Waltz, Sam Mendes coming back again, but it still wasn't amazing.
Oh, I see what you mean. It seemed too good to be true.
Yeah,
on paper.
too good to be true.
I thought you meant it was too perfect afterwards.
It didn't do anything to kind of disgrace the first film. It was its own film, and even when it kind of brought Harrison Ford out of retirement, it was just amazing, and it's so beautiful. A lot of people have criticised it. I think it's a very divisive film. People either really love it or just absolutely despise it, and they think it's pretentious for no real reason. But I just think it was perfect. It was just perfect.
I don't know if you meant that the film was pretentious for no real reason, or that people are claiming that for no real reason.
The film. And Roger Deakins just...
I was waiting for you to pronounce
Lord
the Deak.
Deakins. Incredible.
The Deak.
But anyway, this film was just literally a visual spectacle, and I don't think many films will get this kind of budget and artistic license that Blade Runner 2049 got.
Not after it flopped.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I mean.
Exactly.
such a shame. But then equally, I think that will help it.
I didn't see it, so I'm part of the problem. But
I think over time it's going to be appreciated more. A bit like the original.
The first one.
Yeah. So yeah, there we go.
I just think it's a case of like it's one of the best sequels to a film
that
I can think of, because it does improve on every single aspect, and a film where I liked bits of the first one, but it's still flawed and it's slow. And this one, even though it's longer, I think that it, like I said, it just improved on every single aspect of it, which is surprising for such a cult classic.
And
it found an interesting way of flipping it as well, like taking the original formula and being like, oh, so the whole time you were like, oh, is Deckard a replicant? Is he not a replicant? And then, like, right at the very beginning of 2049, it's like, this is your new main character. He is a replicant.
Yeah.
And they just kind of ran with that.
It's not.
And,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a sort of like an ideas sci-fi. So it's the first film. So for me, this reinvented it, a whole new range of ideas, and I think it leaves so much room for interpretation, which is what's so good about the first film. And anyway, I loved it. Anyway, I'm going to move on because I'm going to be waxing lyrically about another film, and that is my number one, which is Dunkirk, which is just
I saw this one.
Absolute masterpiece. It is absolutely incredible in every single way. And when I said that the genre has peaked, it's because I can't think that
it ended.
Like I said with Blade Runner, it's going to be tricky for someone to get a budget like that on a film like that. There's not going to be many directors that will have such passion and will be given the kind of budget and the kind of artistic license that Chris Nolan was for Dunkirk, and it's just amazing.
Peyton Reed.
What's that? What did he say?
Isn't the guy that directed Bring It On? An Ant-Man.
Apart from him, but it's just incredible.
Peyton Reed.
Just an incredible film. It's on such a vast scale, like massive sinking ships.
You can tell they did so much of it practically as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. There's not really much I can say, because if you want a full review of this film, listen to my review, because I just wax lyrically about it. It's just incredible.
Yes.
Great performances. Lots of people were kind of saying, "Oh, how can Tom Hardy be performing well when he's covered by a mask for the whole film?" But no, he's
done that many times.
Yeah, but
it's his hobby now.
He's great. Cillian Murphy's brilliant. The young guy in it, just an incredible film, and I'm hoping that you guys are going to talk about it a little bit as well. So we'll leave it there on Dunkirk. But yeah, that was my number one and my film of the 21st century.
Aww.
Yeah, incredible.
I don't know if I could get that passionate now.
Soz.
No, neither do I. I feel so ambivalent now.
I feel like I said a lot, but I also said nothing.
I look at my top 5 and I'm like, I really like them.
My number one didn't end a genre.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any film. Okay, I can end a genre with one of these. Right, my 5.
In a good way, or in like a
it sounded like it was in a bad way.
Right, number 5 is Gerald's Game, which I really did not even expect to be in my top 10, let alone my top 5. But it totally weirded me out and freaked me out, and it's one of the most kind of unpredictable horror movies I've seen in a long time. And
what did you say? I didn't hear you.
Gerald's Game.
I still didn't hear you.
Gerald's.
I'm not being a...
Gerald's
Game. Gerald. Thank you.
Did you hear me that time? G-E.
He's heard you.
Right, Gerald's Game, as in the Netflix Stephen King horror movie by Mike Flanagan. I'm not the biggest Stephen King fan. Like, I like a lot of the film adaptations of his books, like the original Carrie and Misery and kind of all the classics, but I've never been one of those people that's like a Stephen King purist. For example, I never saw The Dark Tower.
As someone who is reading it, I can tell you that that is a good stance to have. But just watch the film.
Gerald's Game is one of those films that I did not have any idea where it was going at any point. And I watched at least 2 trailers and kind of knew vaguely what it was about, but I still had no idea. It kind of flips on itself so many times. The thing you think it's about isn't really what it's about. It's full of like really nasty, grisly moments, but also this really kind of strong-willed, kind of almost kind of philosophical kind of bottom layer, which is really, really well written and really well acted. And yeah, I think more than anything, it just took me by surprise, and it felt original, which for a Stephen King adaptation felt kind of weird. But there you go.
On a related note, did you see 1922?
Oh, is that the... No, the Tom Jane one. I never saw that one.
Yeah. I saw that. I didn't see Gerald's Game, but I saw that. It was okay.
Yeah, I heard kind of fine things. But Gerald's Game, it's worth watching because it is so weird. Like, it goes... Especially in the last act, it goes to really weird places. But yeah, anyway, so that's number 5. Number 4 is War for the Planet of the Apes, which I expected to like, but didn't expect to like as much as I did, because it's... I don't know, I kind of expected, like, oh, it's a war movie, it's just going to be, like, all the dark bits from Dawn, but spread out for, like, 2 hours. But it's not. It's, like, one of the most light-hearted of the 3, which I really didn't expect.
Is it? Well, with the concentration camp and the crucifixions?
Well, no, aside from that stuff, but, like, when they're when it turns into, like, the Great Escape, but with apes.
No, that bit is good. And that bit's light-hearted. But they do that in Dawn as well.
I know, it felt like... I think it was more just it took me by surprise, and it was... really, really well put together. All of the characters, especially the apes, were so well kind of like twisted together. Even Bad Ape, who I expected to find kind of annoying, I really, really loved him.
That was one of the biggest surprises. Was he seemed so poised to be Jar Jar, but he
wasn't. Yeah. But it really, and I think it just kind of confirms that Matt Reeves is one of the best directors working in kind of big.
If anyone can
movies.
save this fucking DCEU,
exactly, yeah, he's so kind of eloquent with everything he does, and although like Andy Serkis's performance is really good in it, this was the first Apes film where I wasn't like Andy Serkis was the best thing about it. It's kind of everyone was really, really amazing.
Yeah.
So that's
we have an interview on the channel.
Yeah. Well, we have the interview with
Karen Knovel.
With Maurice.
Yeah, who plays Maurice. Yeah, and that's like a full interview on the channel. But it kind of, for me, it feels similar to how James kind of talked about Dunkirk, where like it's weird to see a film like that being done on a big budget.
I think it's weirder than Dunkirk because it's a franchise. Like Dunkirk is a completely original thing for Christopher Nolan, which I'm not using that to take away from Dunkirk, but I think it is even weirder that Matt Reeves has been able to take this studio blockbuster franchise and turn it into a really slow, meditative, like mournful thing.
Yeah, but it's a really like neat ending to the trilogy as well. I really like what they did with that. Cool. And then number 3 is again one that I didn't expect to be this high, but I'm really, really pleased it is. Paddington 2, which. I really liked the first Paddington, and I kind of went into this one expecting something not quite as good, but came out probably liking this one more than the first one. It just felt really, really kind of charming and sweet and well made and inventive, and like I'm not usually a fan of kind of like family friendly kids films really, but this felt, not only did it feel multi-generational in the same way a lot of Pixar movies are, but it felt like it didn't let the kind of PG certificate hold it back. It still did a lot of really ambitious, weird things visually. It's still kind of like... It didn't hold back anything with its action sequences. It was really kind of quite mournful and sad in places. It wasn't kind of scared to go to some quite dark places. And yeah, I think it's...
Like it.
Like it. Did you just compare Paddington 2 to it?
They're family films.
Yes, family films. But yeah, I think it's just, like I say, I was surprised more than anything that...
Are you talking about it or Paddington?
Paddington 2. I was surprised that Paddington 2, a film that's kind of so aimed at families and so aimed at children, and I mean it had some money behind it, but it's still British. It's still kind of quite...
it did feel very British.
Quite grounded. it still felt very British, and it wasn't kind of afraid of its British identity. It didn't try and Americanise itself. It didn't try and kind of be down with the kids and do anything kind of like try and kind of do anything too progressive. And it was really like so kind of classic.
Progressive.
Well, you know what I mean. It didn't like bring in social media or like Paddington joins Facebook or anything stupid like that.
In some ways, I felt it was a little bit like Wes Anderson-ish in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it was really classical,
not quite real, but just all about the, sort of the charm,
storybook style.
Yeah,
and it felt kind of timeless in that sense as well. It was really, and it just has like this really, really lovely ending to it. So number 3 is Paddington 2, because I honestly think Paddington 2 is the thing that made me feel nicest about everything this year.
As a children's film, I think it's one of the first cases where I think it's a really great children's film that doesn't just follow that will get kids laughing and crying as well as, but it doesn't just follow the Pixar standard of character goes on a journey, and it follows all the same beats that you're kind of used to now with Pixar films. Yeah, and it does that
weird
still
Paddington
the emotional
thing.
Response.
It has
sorry, you go.
I was just going to say on a similar note, the same could be said for It.
I knew you were going to say that.
As a side note to the Paddington 2 thing, is just that if you want to go to the prison, you can.
Really?
I went to it last week.
Yeah, it's the prison that was used in the CBBC series, The Slammer. Am I right?
I was going to say it's also in other films like, The Italian Job, which might be a bit more well known than the CBBC series. Like, if you want to go somewhere interesting in Ireland, go to it.
Oh, it's in Ireland?
Wait, it's in Ireland?
Yeah, it's in Dublin.
So what's it called?
Kilmainham Gaol.
Kilmainham Gaol. You heard it here first?
But yeah, it was a really, and besides just the fact that you can go where they shot Paddington 2 and lots of other films, it's a really interesting thing.
It's a really cool looking prison as well.
I just thought I'd mention that.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. It's like Victorian style.
Right. Cool. I'm going to press on with my number 2. And my number 2 and number 1 have changed around a little bit, but I've changed them back because I feel like the reason I had the film that's now number 1 as number 2 was because it came out a while ago. But I watched it again recently, and it is kind of still number 1. So my number 2 is Baby Driver. I know we talked about it already. It's one of those films that, I'm self-confessed Edgar Wright, fanboy almost. I've loved every film he's made. And I'm not ashamed of that. I think he is one of the most inventive directors, at least original directors, that's making kind of original movies.
Well, yeah, and he inspired Peyton Reed as well. So he also had that.
More than anything, he inspired American auteur Peyton Reed. But I think Baby Driver is, aside from kind of some of the bad press it's been getting recently because of the whole Kevin Spacey thing, I think it is...
Has it? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think more than anything, it's just kind of dropped off a lot of people's radars because of it. But
it's circumstance.
Yeah, I think the actual film itself is very, very beautifully made. It's a proper kind of love letter to the 70s car chase movies, but it's still very, very current and very, very kind of 2008, 17. It's the first time I've ever actually liked Ansel Elgort in something. It's the first time I've really liked Lily James in something. I've never disliked her, but I've never really noticed her much. So I think the fact that the two of them totally own the film is really kind of a testament to how good they are in it. I think John Hamm's amazing in it as well. I think he kind of...
John Hamm. Gotta love John Hamm.
Love a bit of John Hamm. And not just that, but obviously, like James, you talked about the soundtrack as well, and I think the soundtrack is such a key part of it.
Yeah.
But it's so precise, and I've got so much admiration for how kind of well put together it is, because I know it must have been an absolute nightmare to put together, and you don't notice any of the stitching at all. Yeah. It's so complete and well versed. So. And I think seeing it, I've seen it 3 times now. I think the second time I saw it, second and third times I saw it, I didn't like it as much as the first time, but it's still very much kind of one of my favourite films of the year. So yeah, number 2 is Baby Driver. Let's wait till Harrison comes back.
It's the kind of film I would rewatch, which is unusual.
Exactly, I couldn't wait to watch it again.
I wouldn't do that a lot.
Right, let's just go with it. My number 1 is La La Land.
Yeah.
Again, nearly didn't put it as my number one just because it was involved in so many discussions in top 10 lists last year, because it only came out in here in January last year. But I think just today it is still the most entranced I've been in a film for some years, probably since La La Land and Fury Road are like the best films I've seen in a while. He's back!
I have another poster quote for you.
What's your poster quote, James?
Your poster quote is a musical that even James liked.
Ooh!
It was.
That's true.
It was in my top 10. I actually swapped it.
Oh.
It dropped out of the top 10 when Call Me By Your Name came in.
Fair enough. I think it's just, like I say, today it's still... I've seen it like 5 or 6 times now, and I still love it just as much every time. It's so infectious and kind of classical and timeless, and it feels very much
It made me feel things.
At the same time, it's nostalgic, even though it's very much a film of our age, and I love Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone together in anything, so,
so
the fact
good.
that they're kind of at their
So
height of their kind of charmingness, I think that I'm gonna struggle to find a film better than La La Land, or a film that made me feel like warmer and lovelier than La La Land for a while. So,
shall I do my
Go
5
for
and
it.
then Harrison?
Yeah.
My number 5, similarly surprised as Ben, is Paddington 2.
Oh.
Well, there we go.
Join the crew!
Because it was just... I'm trying to really make it so that it's just the films that I enjoyed, ranking it for the top 10.
Yeah.
And I came out of it just feeling really nice. Like, it's just a very nice, sweet film, and it doesn't make me feel cynical at all, which is something that's really hard to do. And it was, like you said, it was just all the reasons of, it was an improvement on the original. It was really visually interesting as well. Like, even for, like, the way that it manages to dip in and out of different types of animation.
Exactly.
And some of the camera shots, especially for the budget, is amazing how it managed to be so intricate on some of the camera shots. But besides just that, it was charming all the way through. There wasn't like a dud moment.
Exactly.
Like noticeable dud moment, and the ending was very sweet as well. Like it's just a great kids film. Yeah.
Lovely.
My number 4 was Get Out.
Yeah.
Which again, I didn't expect to be so high when I first saw it, but it was enjoyable, and it got better every single time I watched it, and kind of similar to how Harrison was. That's the film that I've watched the most this year, just because I've watched it with like different groups of people, and I'm surprised at how much it managed to grow on me every single time, like noticing new things. Number 3 was Call Me By Your Name, which
interesting. Interesting. Number 3.
Which, yeah, I mean, it was like exactly like you said, James. The soundtrack was really, really lovely. Like the Sufjan Stevens track for that, I really, really liked.
Amazing.
Both of them. And I think that it was just a really nice romance film. And like you said, it was the wanting to make you go to Italy.
Yeah.
And I think it was really like Jack point to make about it, but I really liked the sound mixing of it because it really felt like wanting you to be in a place. Like it really made it feel quite strangely visceral, even though it's just this is Italy, not like some far sci-fi place or a war or anything like that. It really made you feel like you were in the place where it was, and it was just a really sweet, interesting story, and it made me really like the characters.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very simple film, but very
simple,
atmospheric and, dare I say it, a very sensual film. But like what you're saying, because of the sounds,
but it didn't make you want to have sex
the
with a man.
sights. No, but
I was so firm. Like, no.
I'm not even going to joke about it. No.
But yeah, no, I agree with you, Jack.
I'm still pissed I didn't get to see it. I think it's still out though, isn't it? It's still showing.
Yeah, it's showing.
It's been out for like
still running in some.
Because I only
places,
saw it last weekend.
Yeah.
My number 2, which Harrison may be surprised at, is Baby Driver.
Oh yeah, considering I had to defend it from you, I had to we had a podcast where he was properly having a go at it, and I was like, no, it's good.
I wasn't saying it was.
He literally said it was the worst. He said it was worse than The Mummy. He said it was the worst film he's seen all year.
I never said
Is your number 1 The Mummy, Jack?
Yes, it is.
By that logic, it must be.
I just really loved that memorable scene in it.
The bit with all the crows. You know that bit with the crows?
I like the bit with the crows. Do you mean the bit where they're hanging upside down?
I don't remember any scenes. That's why I said it. I don't remember any scenes. What was I talking? I was talking about Baby Driver. That's right. It's a film that's grown on me every single time. Like I said when we first reviewed it, when I wasn't too fond of it, like
when you hated it.
Every Edgar Wright film builds every time you watch it for me, anyway. And unlike Ben, who you said like you didn't enjoy it as much the second or third time, I don't know, I appreciated it a bit more every single time, and
you do notice extra things.
I was having more fun with it as it went on,
and it's a key moment in film history because, as I said, it is the last film of the late great Kevin Spacey.
God damn it, James!
Do you want him in the in memoriam section at the Oscars?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's necessary.
Necessary. Yeah. Do you remember that when they airdropped them cookies?
That's what I was remembering.
That was like
moment.
The most privileged thing ever. I was watching a lot of rich people get cookies airdropped to them whilst they go on about how about all these causes, and like you just had cookies sent to you by tiny parachutes. Shut up.
Well, like the free iPads are under your seat in the gift basket or whatever.
God,
you get. Yeah. Anyway, that was a big distraction, but my number one is, of course, La La Land. Like, I kind of had the same feeling of you, Ben, where it was, like, because we've been talking about it for so long and so many of these lists, it felt kind of like, is it still my number one? But yeah, it is. I just love it. It's just a great film.
Infectiously lovely.
I'm so surprised that Dunkirk has not featured higher, but there we go. Harrison saved the day.
I don't want to.
No, he's not.
Continuing, I'm going to probably continue with the Chris trend. So,
good lord, is it the Lego Ninjago movie?
That was. I didn't count that as a film because it's an experience. So
because it's not Lego, it's just Ninjago.
It's the number one experience of the year.
No, my number 5 is Baby Driver, which I guess means I'm the person to put it lowest, but that's not because I didn't like it. I genuinely found last year was difficult because I was trying to fill my top 10. This year was difficult because I was actually trying to rank the films that I liked. So Baby Driver was a great film that I thoroughly enjoyed for basically all the reasons you said. I don't have anything much to add there, so I'm just going to leave it at it was very, very fun. Number 4 for me is... Okay, what's it? Not Rise. No, War of the Apes. I genuinely didn't remember what it was called. I didn't like it as much as Dawn of the Planet of the Apes because for reasons that we discussed at great length in the podcast, but I still think it was a very surprisingly moving film and a technically impressive film on every level. Like the score from Michael Giacchino is amazing, the cinematography is amazing, and the effects are beyond. Like when I say unbelievable, like normally that's just like a hyperbole, but there were times where it was like I genuinely cannot believe that some of this is CGI.
Exactly.
Yes, the detail on the apes is incredible, isn't it? Yeah.
So yeah, it was an amazing film that I enjoyed very much. Just not as much as I did Dawn. Number 3 is a film that am I the only person to put this film in there? Thor Ragnarok.
It was in my special mentions or whatever.
Yeah,
honourable mentions.
I loved Thor Ragnarok. I thought it was the funniest film I've seen since What We Do in the Shadows. Actually, I thought it was incredibly funny. I thought it was better than most of the Marvel films as a sci-fi and fantasy movie, and I think it had its director's voice way more prominently than most comic book movies do. Like, it felt like a Taika Waititi film, and I thought it was a genuine blast throughout, basically. I thought it never had a dull moment, and it gave me more laughs per minute than a million other proper comedy films would. Like, it had more laugh. It had a higher gag, like, hit-miss ratio than most modern comedies do. Totally. I really, really enjoyed it.
I would actually call it a comedy, though. I know it was a fantasy movie first and foremost, and it was still a Marvel comic book movie, but I would at least put it as the second genre as comedy. Like, it felt like it was primarily interested in making you laugh, which I really liked about it.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, it worked. It was funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, but at the same time, what I want to stress about that was that I was impressed that Taika Waititi did the fantasy and sci-fi stuff as well as he did. Like that chase from the Grandmaster's Palace and the spaceships is really cool, fun dogfight. It's as fun as anything in Star Wars, I thought.
And the end on the Rainbow Bridge is really cool as well.
Yeah, that felt like a proper comic book brought to life. That
exactly,
with guys machine gunning skeletons and a giant wolf fighting the Hulk. That felt like a proper comic book image.
Yeah.
And I also like how almost every moment that in any other blockbuster would have to be treated seriously, they could just completely deflate it with a joke. Like when, spoilers here, but when Asgard gets destroyed and he's like, we can rebuild and the foundations are still strong, and it like collapses and he just goes, oh no, those foundations are gone. Like that was brilliant, and I love that Marvel actually let him do that, just like undercut every serious moment with a joke.
And when they killed the Warriors 3 as well, they just didn't even like give them a line. They were just like, "Oh yeah, bye, Sam."
That's true. I liked that because I think it acknowledged how little people.
Exactly, like somewhere there's a bunch of like hardcore Thor fans, like, "Oh my god, no!" And like 99% of the audience are like, "Yes."
My number 2 at the complete polar end of the spectrum. Like, you know how James's 1 and 2 were like such James films?
Yeah.
My 1 and 2 couldn't really be more different, but my number 2 is Logan.
Fair.
I think Logan is the best comic book film since Iron Man 3, so take what you will from that, because most people don't like Iron Man 3. But I really, 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 really love it. I watched it so many times, and I still find it just amazing as a film. I would put it up there without... Like, I think it is completely deserving of its Oscar nomination. I don't think that that's ridiculous or like I'm...
No, I was really pleased, yeah.
Yeah, it deserves it. It is that well written. The character stuff is that good. And I think it could have got acting nominations and they'd have been completely justified as well.
Exactly,
I think it is so ridiculously well crafted, so ridiculously well written, and I also, to go back to what you were talking about with the violence, it wasn't just the violence, but the way that all of the fight scenes, for the first time that I can remember in any blockbuster in a long time, it felt like there was peril. Like they managed to make the one character who is basically invincible and make every fight sequence feel threatening and tense.
Yeah.
And it also helped that the violence was creative and different. It wasn't just like he cuts people's throats. He's like stabbing people through the eyes and
exactly,
the jaw
or like
and everything,
cutting their
which
arms
was
off
great.
and stuff.
And then it ends in a genuinely moving way. So I thought it was so much better than it had any right to be.
Exactly.
And
yeah. Wolverine movies can just be however, but
the weirdest thing about it for me was how annoyed it made me that it took until the end of the trilogy to get this good, because I was like, why couldn't we have started this well and then like had a great trilogy instead of doing it finally at the end? But I would also say that like if I was to recommend any comic book film to James, it would be Logan, because it's kind of like a neo-western.
Yeah, I'm very keen to watch it. So when it becomes available on some form of streaming service, I will definitely watch it.
I think you would like it. Anyway, my number 1 is also La La Land, because I guess I'm a sheep. People still think I'm joking when I say that.
I'm so surprised that you really liked it as much as you did.
I adore it. I think it is near enough perfect. I think it has one of the best endings in storytelling, not just film. I think it, as a fan of Purple, I think it is a beautiful film to look at. And as far as the soundtrack goes, I am still annoying Naoma with it over a year later on a regular basis, and I don't get tired of it.
I still listen to it like almost daily.
Yeah, no, I do. I honestly listen to it almost every day on the bus, and I genuinely thought it would have driven me insane by now, but it hasn't.
I love the idea of Harrison sat miserably on the bus in the rain on his way to Doncaster. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, honestly, that is basically exactly what happens every day now, and I'm very grateful for it. It's a rare film that makes me feel.
That's good.
It's the fact that as well is that you were so not completely anti-musical, but you just didn't like any other musicals really up until that point.
I always liked the Disney ones.
Oh yeah, they're kind of in a different category, aren't they? Though, like from classic.
I was open
musical
to
films.
Singing in the Rain, and
I thought you loved Cabaret.
oh my god!
Or Seven Brides for
well, that's the
Seven
thing. When I see like stuff for The Greatest Showman or whatever, it makes me doubt if I like La La Land that much. I just sort of go, do I really? When this is what it has wrought, when this is what it has visited upon me. But yeah, I think it is a near perfect film in everything from its technical aspects to its storytelling to its emotional content, and I could happily watch it over and over and over again until I made everyone around me sick to death of it.
Wonderful.
Most wonderful.
That's a really good note to end on, I think.
Yeah. So that was our top 10 of 2017.
Only 2 months too late.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we'll be back soon.
Well, actually, for us, that's really on time.
Very on time. And we'll be back, hopefully, in not too long an amount of time, with the Reallys.
Really?
Yeah.
The most significant event in the cinematic calendar.
You know what, no matter how long
we typically we film them around like March, April time, isn't it? Like late March,
it's usually
early
in late
April,
March.
so around that time.
We
make
used
plans
And then eventually it will come out in June.
we used to get them out before the Oscars. we used the first one.
We
did.
When we had a
used to,
studio.
is the bit, yeah.
And we
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
students.
Yeah.
All those
And
years
time.
ago. And time, yeah.
Time.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to
too.
that. And all right, thank you very much for listening. Yeah, that's as James said, it's already been the wrap up. We have more stuff coming in the future. Like you said, the Reallys coming up, as well as it's the time when all the Oscar films are coming out in the UK. So that's why at the moment of recording, there's more reviews coming out than usual. And yeah, if all the feed stuff is now fixed, hopefully, so now the audio feeds shouldn't have any glitches or anything like that on both this one and Backstory Scripts. And yeah, thank you very much for listening.
Like and subscribe, yo.
Bye!
Bye.
Bye.
Oh shit! Bye.